Hi, welcome. So, in this video, we are going to continue to look at some of the interesting things that Power BI has to offer. And in this case, we are going to be looking at bins and lists. So, we've looked at how to create new columns before in the Power Pivot. And then we've been able to see how you can use like formulae, some of the things that we did in Excel in this same series before. So in this video, we are going to take a scenario where maybe you want to group, say, certain products under maybe breakfast and then the other products maybe under others. And then you would want to use something like a list. Otherwise, the long route would be to use an if formula like we've seen in Excel before, where you say if product if product equals to maybe milk or product equals to sugar, then you say put breakfast, else maybe put others or some other title you want to give to the remaining food items. So this will be longer with the if statement, but Power BI has something interesting which is called lists. And also we are going to see how we can use bins to be able to shorten this task for us. So let's just go straight to the computer and look at that. So remember, we have this our data set, and we already have this relationship that we've created earlier. So I'm going to leave a link to the data set in the description of this video. And in an earlier video called relationships, we showed you how to create these relationships so that this sales table is linked to the customers table through the staff code, and the sales table is linked to the staff table also through the matricule number from the staff table and the staff code from the sales table. So you can always go back and take a look at these videos to be able to get the same data set like we have here. So you see we have this here, and then we have our products. So typically, if we wanted to group maybe milk, sugar together like breakfast, we'll be creating a new column. So what we would have done, would have come here and click on new column, give it a name, maybe like product segment, a new column, product segment. For example, let me just keep that E here, segment. Then we'll be using formula just like you do in Excel. So if you're an Excel user, you'll be comfortable with that. And we've already looked at a similar thing like this when we were doing the if function in Excel. So you can always go back and take a look as part of this series. So we are just building on your knowledge. We will not go into detail in this. Normally, there is a logical test which you'll be saying if the sales product equals to something like Gary, for example. Gary, we say we want to start with breakfast first, so milk, for example. Now to give it multiple conditions, you'll be wrapping it around an or statement. So or, remember we did something similar, the if would add an or. So or, you need to say this equal to milk, or sales product equals to sugar, or sales product equals to whatever. Then you write comma breakfast, then the else condition, you add something else. So we are not going to waste time to go through that again, because you've already seen that in Excel as part of this series. So just go back and take a look and refresh, because today we just want to focus and talk about how to use the lists and the bins to do this faster. So I'll just take that off. And then what I'll do, I'll go to the product, right click on the product. And if you come down here, you're going to see here they have written new group. So this is where you want to click on new group. And then you see you have this group name, which you can change. And then this is the field. Here, there is the list. And if it was something that it could create bins for, it's going to appear here with the option of bins. So for now, you can't create bins because it's they are categorical values. So we are going to look at that bins later. So now these are our products. And then we want to do just like I was showing here, the if that we want to do. We want to use list to be able to group these products together. So we can call them maybe product segments, for example, product segments. Let me just correct this. Product segments. So we can say this is our product segment, and then we want to say flour. Then we hold control, milk, sugar. Let us group these as breakfast stuffs. So if we click on group here, we have the flour and milk and sugar in one group here. So these two, you can easily double click here and modify. So let's just give it the name breakfast. Breakfast. Now, when we click, for example, here, include other group, it's going to say all the other items that you haven't included here, like the gari, rice, salt, should just be called other. So we can just, if we want, still click here, double click here, modify, and call them maybe others. Anything you want to call here, lunch or non-breakfast products or whatever. But the whole idea is there's this group of flour, milk, sugar, and then every other one that was not included is in this others section. So now, if we go here and we click on OK, as you can see, here where there's gari, it falls under others. Where there is milk, it falls under breakfast. As you can see, where there is sugar, it falls under breakfast. So you see, you have a new category already, segment that you've created without passing through the long if or statement that you would have done if you remember how we did it in Excel. So this is very interesting using the list. And now if you go even to your report view here, you have product segments here. So if you want to report by product segment, you have your breakfast, you have your orders, and you can decide to drop revenue there, for example, and then you have something you can report in terms of product and breakfast and orders. So this is the revenue split for breakfast and orders. Just within a couple of seconds, you're able to have this. So it's very interesting. Now, another thing now you can do is you might want to group maybe your staff matricule to maybe different staff groups. So let's just go there and let me show you. So we can go to our staff table, click on matricule number, right click, go to new group, and then here we can say the first three, 1, 2, 3. So I'm just going to click on the first one and then click on shift. Now I'm going to group them and I call them maybe first three staff, first three staff. Then you have now the next three. So I'm just going to group them and I call them maybe middle three staff, middle three staff. And then now you can also click this shift and then you group them and you call them maybe last three staff, last three. So let's just make this capital too, last three staff. Now if we click on OK, we can take this one out and then we go back to our columns, and then as we can see, we have our first three staff here, our middle three staff here, our last three staff here, and which again you can use to be able to get your report. So if, for example, we have this, our groups, okay, we didn't like put the name like staff name, but anyway, you can always do that. So you could always get the name here, the right name here. So if you have your first three staff, last three staff, middle staff, you can decide to drop now your revenue here. And then you've been able to use list again to group them to be able to get a new visual without going through the long if, or, and all those complicated things. So now let us look at bins. And so we understand now how list works. So let's look at how bins, what bins do differently. So normally you would come to something like maybe revenue or age or those kind of variables which can be grouped into bins and kind of continuous variables. So if I click here and I go to new group, you see that the bin option is even the first that comes up right now. So it's already proposing to me that there could be a minimum value of 200 for your bin and the maximum value, and the size of your bins. You can either choose to get the size of bins here, Like, do you want to control the size of bins or the number of bins? So if I see here, my bin size is 1,321, and I could go here and I choose just the number of bins I want. So the bin size will be fixed here. And now I can decide that I want just 5 bins, for example. And you see the bin size is increased here. So I can say I want 10 bins, 10. And the bin size is like that. So we could decide to go back to get our size of bins. And then size of bins, we say we want a size of maybe 1,000, for example. Let's just say we want a size of 1,000 for each bin size of 1,000. So when we click on OK, for example, and then we go here to the columns, you would see that for the revenue of 15,400, it puts it in the 15,000 bin. For the revenue of 22,400, it puts it in the 22,000 bin. So 5,280 is in the 5,000 bin. So you've been able to do some binning, and then now you can be able to plot some histograms and be able to get a better view of the distribution of your data, or be able to use it for other analysis and reporting. So I hope you've been able to learn how to use lists and bins, which would make it easier for you to be able to group elements together and improve the impact of your visuals. See you next video. Wish you good data luck.